NuTech Cleaning Systems, and we're here to do number 10 of our Building Your Business series. For those of you that have not watched any of them yet, or maybe have some hit and miss, I've been telling everyone from the very beginning, if you start at video 1 and just take your time, maybe a little bit each day when you have some time, go through number 1 and work your way through. This will be number 10, and then we're also going to be posting very shortly number 11, which will be on branding that we're going to talk about in the next video. So let's jump right into this. As we talk about empowering employees and micromanaging, I had promised you guys on a previous video we're going to talk about this very, very specifically. The bottom line is kind of this: no matter how good we are as owners or managers or project managers or whatever your position is, you can only be as great as the people you're surrounded with. So, when people talk about employees at NuTech, I always hear the same thing. God, Brian, you guys always have great people, like fantastic people. And in some of the previous videos, when we talked about hiring, we talked about our culture and our core values and how we came to hiring great people. But hiring great people is just a tiny piece of making a company great, or in our next video, a brand great. You have to have great, great people. So as we jump into this, a couple of the biggest things that we have with employees is once we've hired these great people, we kind of throw them into the job and say, okay, well, you're going to shadow this person, or you're going to train with this person, or you're going to take a couple classes, and that's great, right? But what we're really doing is, if we've actually done a good job at what we're doing and we've brought in this great employee or this great group of employees, empowering them is giving them the, number one, the knowledge, the confidence, and putting them in a place. I always say to people all the time, as an employer, it's not my job to make an employee successful, but it is my job to offer them the opportunities to let them get successful. I can't say, hey, Johnny, go build a house and then don't give them a hammer. It's not going to work. So it's very, very important that we first hire that great people or that great group of people, then empower them by just as some examples. I can take an employee and say, hey, Carrie, if you need this training class, I don't care when you schedule it, make sure you're in it. And then if that employee says, hey, it's been 2 or 3 years since I've taken that restoration class or that mold class or whatever the case is saying, hey, listen, go take it again, because the rules change, things change, technologies change, everything changes. So if you don't change, you stay stale and the same, and that employee becomes stale and they don't grow. As soon as they stop growing, they're dead, just like a plant, just like a human being. But the second we stop growing, we die. So very, very important that we empower employees. Now, part of that empowerment is, we've already hired the good person, we've brought them in, we've given them all kinds of fantastic training, but also empowering that employee is a great manager or a great owner or leader will be able to go to that employee and say, how was your weekend? Like, for example, today's Monday. How was your weekend? You're actually talking to that employee, part of our relationship building that we talked about in the previous videos, and caring about what's important to that employee. Hey, it's great. My boyfriend was working on his new garage he's building, or my husband was working on his new garage, or whatever the case is, and then saying, okay, by knowing that, I know what kind of goals they're trying to reach, and I can actually communicate to them to what's important to them. It's easy to just say, okay, here's a paintbrush, go paint a room. That's what I pay you to do. Well, that's not success. That's guaranteed you're going to build a crappy painting company. So by caring about your employees, empowering them is training, understanding what their personal life goals are, actually giving a crap about your staff. And, again, we talked about this in other videos. Why do NuTech's employees want to stay? Because the leadership gets it. It's not just me. It's Jamie, our controller. It's Carrie, our sales manager. It's everyone in there fits in that umbrella we discussed in the previous videos about culture and understanding how all these things come together, which is why I keep saying watch them in order, because the things will come together. So empowering these employees is training them, of course, but also making them feel confident and strong in what they do, so that they have self-satisfaction when they go home and they eat dinner with their families. They feel really great about what they succeeded in today. So that's really, really important. Micromanaging, which is a really, we talked about doing a micromanaging video, but it's really ended up turning into an empowering employees video with understanding what destroys all these good efforts. because I can do all of these good efforts to empower these employees or empower this employee. But if I do this, I destroyed all my good work. It's counterproductive. So what is really micromanaging? Like, we hear this term all the time. What is it? Well, that would be like giving somebody, like saying to our marketing manager, okay, Carrie, I want you to go design this new brochure for a product, or whatever the case is. Maybe design a new sign, and then stand over her shoulder constantly saying, is it done, is it done, is it done, is it done? When she's already told you, Brian, I've only been doing it for an hour. Give me some time to get it done. And then being disappointed when the quality isn't good because I rushed her through that. Now, there's nothing wrong with setting goals and getting it done, but have we given this person the reasonable amount of time to create? We say we want a great product, but we have to give them the tools to let them build a great product, right? Now, there's nothing wrong with an owner or manager coming in and saying, I don't like the color in that brochure, or what do you think about this, and brainstorming together, but then instantly stepping out of that office or that space, that cubicle, whatever they're in, and letting them be empowered to be creative, to create good things for you. And by the way, the better that they become this creative person, the more they're going to lift the whole team up. It's not just about the owner. And unfortunately, for all of us owners, including myself, it's the hardest thing to do, because for 25 years, many years I had to do everything myself, right? So it's hard to break free of that micromanaging thing and step away and say, okay, we hired Carrie to do this, and we hired this one to do this, and we hired Dan to fix equipment, and we hired, you have to be able to step back and let them really build their craft, but you have to give them the tools to do it. Another example of micromanaging would be to say, hey, I want you to set up a new training schedule for our training room here at NuTech, and I want to know what the classes are going to be through 2018 and 2019. And then they create the schedule based on, oh, there's no holidays on this week, and there's no this and that. And then you coming in right on topping it and changing the whole schedule. If you're going to do that stuff, then what did you need that person to do it for? Because what you really did is trashed all their work. Now, there's nothing wrong with saying, oh, did you forget that's Labor Day weekend? And there's nothing wrong with checking and proofing somebody's work. I mean, that's what bosses do. That's being good leadership too. But if they say to you, well, I didn't book it on this week because this is going on that week. Maybe there's a trade show for Crawford Connection or one of the other big industries that we're in, one of their trade shows on that week. Well, then it doesn't make sense to have a training class on that week, because a lot of guys can't come because they're out of state. So micromanaging is not stepping on the toes, giving them the work to do, and then putting them down for all the work that they did. That's micromanaging. Other examples of micromanaging might be giving them goals, having them go and set goals for other teams. So like if you take a manager or a project manager, he sets maybe some sales goals for his team. And then after he's already had his meeting with all his staff, you coming in going, why did you do that? That doesn't make sense to me. You can have the meeting with the manager in a way that says, this doesn't make sense to me. Hey, Bob, the next time you go and have that meeting, it's not that your meeting was bad, but I think I can coach you because I've been through this. And what I'm really doing is saying, Bob, you did a good job, but this is how, just think about these things, and maybe you can deliver that message a little stronger next time. See, that's good leadership. That's good management, because basically you're saying, it's not that you're bad, Bob. It just means that maybe I have more experience and you've done a good job, but now I can help you be better. That's part of empowering. But if I come back to Bob the same way and say, dude, why did you do it that way? That doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. And all you did was diminish the team. And now we have to go back and da-da-da. So what I'm going to do now is go have a meeting with the team and change everything that Bob just did. That is about the most destructive, counterproductive micromanaging, and probably, unfortunately, the most common in just about every service business that I know, that I run into. And it's not because the owner has a bad heart. It doesn't mean he's a jerk all the time. It just means that he's not really thinking clearly. Because remember, owners have a million things in their brain. They're going 24/7. He's not really thinking about the end result, which is, I've just really beat Bob down. And even if Bob's got a good attitude, he's got his game face on because that's how we trained him, he might really be going home thinking, God, I don't even know why I wasted my time. I did all this work. I trained all these guys the way that he asked me to do it, and then totally crushed me, and then went behind me and had another meeting and makes me look silly. And that's really, we see this in every business. We see it all the time. It is the most counterproductive, counterproductive piece of micromanaging you could possibly do. We see it, and it's not just little companies either. We see it all the way up in the big three, you know, General Motors, Chrysler, Ford. You see it in all kinds of companies when you have bad leadership. So it doesn't mean they're a bad person. It means they haven't really thought things through. Maybe no one's ever trained them. We talk about our educational system. They don't teach half the things that need to be taught in the real world, this being one of them. If you want to motivate people and empower them to be great, because the only way they're lifting you up is if they're great too. Otherwise, you're just dragging them up with you. That's counterproductive. So I'm going to end this by saying if you have need more information on how to empower employees or guidelines or plans that you need to put together for, you know, guiding and, you know, empowering employees. Maybe you're having problems in your business and you've tried a lot of these things. They're just not, maybe you're missing one little factor that could really help you get over the top. I would encourage you to call our 800 number. It's 800-435-5868. As I've said in all the videos, you know, we help people make money and be successful. That's what we do here at NuTech and our ObserveX Consulting Group. That's what we do. So, you know, it doesn't cost you any money to call and have a 10-minute phone conversation with me that might change your whole business for the better. So I would encourage you to do that at any time. I love taking those calls and fielding those calls. But if nothing else, if you let this sink in for a day or two and really think about your own business model and what's in there, and then kind of think about what we've talked about today, I think you'll see an absolutely outstanding change in how your employees think and walk around, and their attitude will change. You can really turn around a business in a hurry by empowering people, because without people, we have nothing. Thanks for watching.